Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Afternoon Macaroon and Cocoa. This week, we are diving deep into an Italian classic that is rich, it is flaky, it is golden brown, it is crispy, it is focaccia bread. This is absolutely delicious, especially when you make it from scratch. It really doesn't even compare to the stuff that they call focaccia bread that you probably have gotten at a sandwich shop. It was actually created in Italy to help feed the workers at lunchtime, and that's why it has so much of that rich, delicious olive oil in it to really help keep them satiated all day long through work. We're going to break this down. This is something we absolutely can do together. And I promise you, once you have put in the time and effort, you're going to forget how much labor it was because it's a labor of love. A lot of this is resting time. You know, good things come to those who wait, and good things happen to breads that have given enough time to rise. So with all of that being said, we'll start off with our really humble, beautiful ingredient. We'll make something delicious together. So let's get to cooking.
We'll start with 7 grams of active dry yeast, 17 grams of salt, 3 cups of warm water. We're going to have 6 cups, about 780 grams of bread flour, and of course our olive oil, between a half a cup and 3/4 cup, depending on what you would like. We want to start by proving our active dry yeast, so we'll just mix our yeast in water and give that a good stir. Make sure we get those little bubbles going. While that is going on, we will measure out our flour. I would definitely use a food scale here because you do want to be quite specific. So we're going to get up to 780 grams of bread flour, and then we're going to add in the rest of our water once our active dry yeast has proofed. Bread really is just water, flour, yeast, and salt, and so we're going to add everything into our mixer and then start with it really slowly, or you are going to have flour legitimately everywhere. So you really want to start on the lowest speed you can until you can see that that is incorporating. It's going to look quite wet, but you really need the flour to be able to absorb that moisture from the water. So it takes a little while. You can obviously help it along with the edges while it is coming together. And then once it has formed a shaggy, wet dough ball, you can increase the speed so that the machine can help you make sure that you're getting all of those bits around the edges. So just keep going with it. It's going to take a while. Bread making is a lesson in patience. So while this is going, we're going to measure out our salt, which is 17 grams, and we'll add that in. That's the last step before the first rest. So add that in and then just cover it up and let it rest for about 10 minutes. And then we can start it again. You can see how the consistency of the dough is changing. And it's really these periods of resting and rising and then kneading. So we're going to add some olive oil to a bowl, about a 1/4 cup of olive oil here, and of course the highest quality you can. And then we'll take that dough that we've kneaded again. You can see that release as that gluten is starting to activate, and we'll put it right into that bowl with olive oil. And now we want to make sure that we cover all of the dough in this delicious olive oil, because focaccia bread, as you know, is just known for that golden, delicious, melting olive oil that's all around it. This helps ensure that we get that beautiful flavor all around the dough, as well as the rising and sticking process, and really enhancing that flavor of the olive oil through our bread. So we're going to just cover that with a cloth, and we're going to let this do its first rise. Now after about 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours, of course you're really looking for the size, not the time. Then you can take it out. You can see mine has absolutely doubled, that beautiful bounce back, all of that beautiful aeration. We're going to add another 1/4 cup of olive oil to our pan, to our half sheet, and we'll just make sure we get all of those nooks and crannies. We want a nice even line of beautiful olive oil all over our pan. So I like to make sure I get into the corners because we're going to do the second rise of our focaccia dough. It's not going to have a lot of give at this point, so it's going to be a little bit difficult to get into those corners. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put it onto the pan, give it a nice few pushes out there just towards the edges, and then we'll let it rest for about 10 or 15 minutes there, and then we'll go back and spread the rest of it into the corners. Now, what we want to do is get a nice piece of cellophane, and then we're going to oil that using the oil that we had left over in the bowl that we did our first rise in. There should be a lot of just beautiful golden delicious oil in there, and we just want to make sure the cellophane's not going to stick to the bread while it does its second rise. So after we've gotten that, we will cover the whole focaccia bread in that oiled cellophane. You can see that one there, just helping it not be too sticky. And we will put this then with that oiled cellophane over it in the fridge overnight if you have the time, making sure you can get everything as close to the edges as possible. If you do not want to have this rise overnight in the fridge, which does help a lot of beautiful flavor things happen, then you just want to have it be out on the counter until it really has risen to the edge of your pan. So it should fill in all of those beautiful gaps, and you can see this is mine after it's nice sleep in the refrigerator. It's really flush with that pan. Now's the fun part, the dimpling. So we're going to oil some of our fingertips, and then you get to just push down. Oh, there's nothing more delightful than this feeling, and make those beautiful dimples in our focaccia. You can see those air bubbles from having all of that great time aerating overnight, and of course, even more olive oil. This is where you can really make it your own as well. You can add beautiful flake salt to the top of it, maybe a little bit of roasted red pepper flakes or herbs, anything that really makes this unique and personal to your taste. Now, this is going to go into an oven that we have preheated to 450 degrees. It's a high temperature oven. We really want to get that nice crust on the bread, so it'll go in for about 20 to 25 minutes there. And it comes out just looking golden and delicious. You can let this cool for a few minutes, and then please cut it into big chunks. Use it for sandwiches, or just eating it straight is absolutely delicious. Bon appetito.
That is it for this week's episode of the Afternoon Macaroon Cooking Edition. I'm Coco. We do post videos every week to feed both our bodies and our souls. And I think until next week, I'll be just here eating focaccia bread. Yeah, it's so good. See you guys later.